Stop asking why you keep choosing the same unavailable partners. Stop calling it bad luck. The truth is much more precise and far more disturbing. There is a specific, invisible model installed in your brain before kindergarten that makes you addicted to the exact people who hurt you the most. This is not self-help philosophy. This is attachment theory. It proves that your brain is hardwired to recreate the emotional intensity of your first, most chaotic relationships. And the moment you choose a partner who offers peace instead of chaos, your nervous system triggers panic and screams, "This is wrong, run!" We are going to expose this hidden childhood blueprint in its entirety. We will dissect the neurological reason why anxious people pursue avoidance and vice versa. And by the end, I will give you the 4 pillars of earned security, the exact framework to dismantle the trauma-based wiring and start choosing real, stable love. If you want to break the cycle, do not skip a single minute of this analysis. Let's establish the core foundation. What exactly is attachment theory? It began with John Bowlby, a pioneering British psychiatrist who posited that humans, like other complex mammals, possess an innate evolutionary drive to form powerful emotional bonds. This isn't merely a psychological preference, it's a survival strategy crucial for infant development and lifelong emotional regulation. Our initial relationship with our primary caregiver establishes a working model, an internal template for all future intimacy. This deeply internalized model is your brain's answer to 2 simultaneous existential questions. Am I fundamentally worthy of love and care? And are others dependable and available when I need them most? If the caregiver was consistently available, sensitive and responsive to the child's distress, the child developed a secure base, leading to a positive self-view and a positive view of others. This promotes healthy exploration of the world and comfort in returning to connection. Conversely, if the care was highly inconsistent, chaotically unpredictable or chronically dismissive, the child developed internal alarms and coping mechanisms designed to survive that unpredictable environment. These sophisticated alarms become the core emotional scripts of your adult dating life. Now let's explore the 4 styles discovered through the rigorous research of Mary Ainsworth, particularly her influential strange situation procedure. First, the secure anchor. This is the goal of earned security. You possess high self-worth and high trust in others. You are comfortable with both intimacy and autonomy. You trust easily, communicate your needs effectively, and possess the highly sought-after ability to regulate your emotions internally without needing external validation or threats. You view conflict not as a catastrophic threat to the relationship's existence, but as a necessary opportunity for repair, growth, and deeper mutual understanding. This pattern represents relational homeostasis, a state of stable equilibrium. Second, the anxious preoccupied, or the security hunter. This style results from deeply inconsistent care. The caregiver was sometimes loving and present, but sometimes emotionally unavailable or preoccupied. Because of this unpredictability, your system developed a hyper-vigilance for connection. You have a negative view of self. I am not worthy of consistent love, but a positive view of others. They are perfect if I can just win them over. In adulthood, this translates to profound fear of abandonment, chronic neediness, excessive pursuit, and often tragically mistaking high-intensity drama and conflict for passionate love. When your partner pulls away, your fight-or-flight response is immediately triggered. Case study: the anxious cycle in action. Consider Sarah. Sarah's anxious attachment means she constantly seeks external validation to soothe her internal alarm. When her partner, Mark, takes 3 hours to respond to a simple text, Sarah's nervous system floods with cortisol. She interprets the delay not as Mark being busy, but as the imminent threat of "I am being abandoned and I must prevent it." Her automatic response is not rational. It's a frantic physiological attempt to restore proximity. She might send multiple follow-up texts, call his friend, or manufacture a minor crisis to force a response, thereby confirming her deepest fear by driving Mark further away. The desperate pursuit is the drama she unconsciously requires. This behavior is rooted in protest behavior, a key characteristic of the anxious style, designed to re-establish contact at any cost, regardless of the relationship's long-term health. Third, the dismissive avoidant, or the intimacy fugitive. This style results from chronic emotional dismissal. The caregiver was consistently unresponsive or actively discouraged all displays of need or vulnerability. The child learned that reliance on others is painful, so they surgically shut down their need for intimacy. You have a positive view of self, I am fully independent, but a negative view of others. People are needy, controlling, and burdensome. In adulthood, you crave excessive independence. Closeness feels intensely suffocating, and you often use work, hobbies, or even excessive substance use to maintain emotional distance. You are constantly deactivating your attachment system, minimizing the partner's importance, focusing obsessively on minor flaws, or simply disappearing entirely. Case study: the avoidant deactivation and the fantasy partner. Consider David, the dismissive avoidant. He is highly successful, charismatic, and dates frequently, yet he sabotages every relationship that nears commitment. He finds fault with every dating partner. Their politics are wrong, their taste is bad, their emotional needs are too much. Crucially, David often maintains an intense, enduring emotional connection with a fantasy partner, an ex, a distant crush, or an idealized, non-existent person. He can feel intense, safe love for this fantasy because they pose zero risk of actual vulnerability or engulfment. The moment intimacy with a real partner reaches a tipping point, perhaps they discuss shared finances, his mind immediately starts listing flaws. Her driving habits are too risky. Her organizational style is unbearable. These are not real problems. They are purely deactivation strategies designed to create necessary emotional distance and justify his retreat to solitude, proving the lie that he is safer alone. Finally, the most complex and clinically challenging style, the fearful avoidant or disorganized. This style results from early, severe trauma, abuse, or unpredictable parental behavior, where the caregiver was both the child's sole source of comfort and the source of overwhelming fear. This is the most challenging style to manage because the person holds both the negative views of self and others. It's a terrifying paradox. You desperately want closeness, but the moment you get it, you feel overwhelming fear and distrust. You cycle violently between intense anxious pursuit and dismissive withdrawal, the infamous hot and cold behavior, making relationships highly unstable and often triggering codependence in others. Now let's examine the deep neurological science behind the trauma attraction point. The question isn't why you choose bad partners, it's why the bad partner feels so familiar and exciting. The answer lies deep in the limbic system, particularly the amygdala, which is wired to recognize and prioritize familiarity, even if that familiarity is painful. The anxious avoidance cycle is so potent because it reproduces the exact emotional intensity of your primary trauma. For the anxious, the avoidance distance triggers the same dopamine reward circuit as gambling or addiction. The intermittent reinforcement, a sudden text after days of silence, creates an addictive loop of hope, overriding your rational prefrontal cortex. This is not love. It's an addiction to intermittent validation. You are not trying to find love. You are desperately trying to fix the past. For the avoidant, the anxious partner's closeness triggers cortisol, the severe stress hormone. The fear of engulfment is a pure survival mechanism. Withdrawal is not a conscious choice. It's a desperate biological attempt to restore perceived safety. Neurobiology deep dive, the polyvagal theory. This entire cycle is physically managed by the vagus nerve, specifically the ventral vagal complex, VVC, which governs our ability to be calmly engaged. When the anxious person is triggered by separation, their system shifts from the calming VVC to the sympathetic nervous system, fight or flight, leading to protest behavior. When the avoidant person feels too close, they trigger the same sympathetic response, which rapidly shifts to the dorsal vagal complex, DVC, leading to freeze, fawn, or shutdown. They mentally and emotionally disconnect entirely. Healing means retraining the vagus nerve to maintain a healthy ventral vagal state, calm connection, even when triggered, promoting neuroception, the ability to correctly and accurately perceive safety in a relational context. We must now address the deep psychological lies and cognitive distortions that perpetuate this cycle. The core function of the non-secure attachment styles is self-protection, but the chosen method is based entirely on flawed, trauma-based beliefs. The anxious lie: if I am perfect and persistent enough, I will be worthy of love. This leads to fawning, a trauma response where you try to anticipate and meet every need of your partner to preemptively control the relational environment. The distortion is mind reading. You believe you know what your partner needs and never ask directly, leading to burnout and deep resentment. To break this, you must adopt the mantra, I am worthy of love simply by existing, not by performing. The avoidant lie, I am strong enough alone. My emotions are a liability and a weakness. This leads to the deactivation strategy, a calculated, tactical minimization of the partner's intrinsic importance. The distortion is idealization of solitude. You fantasize about the absolute freedom of being single, viewing intimacy as an inevitable loss of self, not a gain. To break this, you must adopt the mantra, vulnerability is connection, not annihilation. The disorganized lie, I need you, but I will destroy you before you destroy me. The distortion here is unpredictability, the inability to regulate fear or desire, leading to the chaotic push-pull that destabilizes everyone involved. To break this, you must cultivate radical self-compassion for the conflicting parts of yourself and seek professional guidance for trauma integration. The final step in rewriting this code is conscious mapping. You must map your territory. When conflict hits, do you feel the shame of unworthiness, anxious, or the panic of being trapped, avoidant? Naming the alarm system is the only way to interrupt and stop the automated trauma response. Cultural context, gender, and attachment. It's essential to recognize how culture profoundly shapes this experience. Historically, women have been socially conditioned toward anxious attachment, prioritizing relational maintenance and emotional labor, while men have been conditioned toward avoidant attachment, prioritizing stoicism and rugged independence. This cultural overlay tragically intensifies the anxious-avoidant cycle, as each gender is reinforced by society for their specific trauma response. True healing often involves consciously rejecting these limiting gender roles and seeking emotional authenticity. Now let's move past the problem and onto the solution. The 4 pillars of earned security, the pathway to stable, enduring love. This is your practical framework for transformation. Pillar 1. Emotional self-regulation, internal containment. When your trigger hits, you must utilize grounding tools like bilateral stimulation, simple breathing or tapping, or the 5-4-3-2-1 grounding technique to calm your activated limbic system. For the anxious, you must resist the urge to contact your partner for a minimum of 4 hours after a trigger, practicing self-soothing before seeking proximity. For the avoidant, you must agree to a specific, time-bound return to the conversation, practicing re-engagement before fully withdrawing. The goal is to choose a thoughtful prefrontal response over a traumatic limbic reaction. Pillar 2. Assertive communication, clarity over codependency. You must abolish mind reading and speak your needs directly using I statements, especially regarding boundaries. This requires scripting and practicing your difficult conversations. Communication roteros for change. For the anxious, asking for reassurance. Instead of accusing, say, I am feeling triggered right now and insecure because I haven't heard from you. My mind goes to the worst-case scenario. Could you send a quick text saying you are safe and that you will call me later? It would help me regulate. Thank you for doing that for me. This is a clear, low-drama request for co-regulation. For the avoidant, asking for space. Instead of silently withdrawing, say, I'm feeling overwhelmed by this conversation and need to decompress. I'm not leaving the relationship, but I need 60 minutes completely alone to process this, and I promise to re-engage with you at 8:30 p.m. I need you to trust that I will return. This honors your need for space while respecting the partner's need for communication. Pillar 3. Conscious partner selection, values over chemistry. The number one mistake is confusing anxiety for attraction. If a potential partner triggers high-intensity anxiety, hot and cold behavior, that is a sign to withdraw, not to pursue. A secure partner will initially feel boring because they introduce consistency, which is the direct opposite of the high-energy drama your trauma brain craves. That boring feeling is what genuine safety actually feels like. You must actively choose compatibility of long-term values, respect, communication, mutual support, over the momentary rush of traumatic familiarity. Focus on the 4 C's of a secure partner: consistency, clarity, commitment, and co-regulation. Pillar 4. Finding your external secure base, community and therapy. You cannot heal a relational wound in isolation. You must diversify your support network. Get a trusted secure friend, a secure partner, or a trained therapist, especially one practicing psychodynamic or attachment-based therapy, serves as an external secure base. They provide the consistent, non-judgmental response that allows your internal working model to finally update. This process of leaning on another's stable regulation is called co-regulation, and it is critical for healing deeply embedded trauma. By intentionally choosing relationships where trust is consistently earned, you teach your brain that connection is safe, gradually transforming your internal model. Your childhood trauma encoded your blueprint, but this deep, comprehensive understanding is now your power. You have the map to the styles, the neurological explanation for the attraction, and the 4 pillars to create a new model. The blueprint is not fate. It is a pattern that can be broken, one conscious choice and one moment of regulation at a time. The work is the hardest you will ever do, demanding patience and radical honesty, but the reward is worth it. A life where love feels safe, secure, and permanent, not like a constant battle for survival. I want to know where you are on this journey. In the comments below, write, "I am your attachment type." Let's start the conversation about moving toward earned security. If you're ready to fully rewrite your blueprint, subscribe now